Hey guys, it's Merrick, and I've got another gameplay commentary here today. This one, I'm on TR, and I'm using the MSW-R. I'd been specifically working with this gun because it was one of my weak ones, and I have a okay session with a lot of ups and downs. We're going to have a bunch of stuff to go over. As for the loadout, though, I'm running the compensator and the laser sight on my MSW-R. You can also use the forward grip if you do things at longer ranges. I just happen to run this because this is what I was trying to practice with. I personally don't run soft point because I always run high velocity, and the farthest thing from high velocity is soft point. Running adrenaline shield, nade bandolier, and anti-vehicle nade, which are pretty standard for me. Running assimilate and heavyweight. There's a lot of vehicles around tonight, and I like being able to shoot, so I had to run heavyweights. The gameplay begins pretty abruptly because I forgot to start my recording on time, but I don't actually find anything at this base until right before I redeploy. My first impression was to say that I was out of position here, but had my teammate not been assisting me so heavily, I think I would have been able to clear this first guy out faster and move to a different spot, and it would have been in a better spot to pick up 3 more here. But, all things considered, I don't actually die. I wind up, they just don't look at me, and I make it out unscathed. But, we missed all the fun, the fight's over, and I have to find somewhere else to go. But, as happens every so often, there's no sunders that I can go to because everything is at an awkward population or just overpopped. So I pull a flash and drive all the way over to Indar excavation site, see a tank-centric fight, and after I trade out poorly, I just watch the Sunder despawn in front of me. So, not waiting for that, I head over to Ceres, which seems to have a decent fight, but as I get there, we're actually trying to push into the compound as purpose pushing out, so I take position on the side of this container. I take a decent angle at first, trying to see if anybody's going to peek into me, and I do eventually catch one, but then I over-peek way too far and get in a fight with a turret gunner that I don't even actually get the kill on. But it seems like this area is clearing up, so I try to hold this house angle, and as people are pushing up past me, I push up as well, because they're just going to take that kill when they swing the building. As I get up to this next container though, we can see another person falling back, confirming that we are gaining ground, so I push a little too aggressively, and I have to wind up swinging on some people on my right. But because Shift W disease is strong, I try to keep pushing up, and I wind up getting caught out of position. I wind up taking the fight successfully, but it wasn't a good play in the first place. I push up trying to punish these reses, but then I see some people running into the L shape. As I'm reacting and trying to take these fights, I see a few things here. I see some people pushing up, as well as these VS that I'm fighting are still retreating. When this max pushes up, it pretty much confirms that we have a lot of pressure here and there's a high possibility that we've actually gained ground. That makes this a good opportunity to take an aggressive play, so I push into the L shape. But because fucking around directly correlates with finding out, there turns out to be a max in there. Because of course there does. Thankfully, the first thing he saw coming around that corner was actually a TR in the doorway, and everybody knows it's illegal for max players to change targets before the first one dies. I continue my push, and I actually catch a few more of them as they're coming out from spawn trying to push up back towards the point, but I get taken out while reloading from a flank on the side. Nothing really happens, and by the time I get back, there's just a little hallway fight, and I'm only able to pick up 1 kill before we have to rotate somewhere else. Flow of fights determines that I'm going to be going to Mao Watchtower, and before I can even get to the bottom of the stairs, there's already blue running up at me. Because that guy was alone and doesn't seem to be too many people with his Sunderer, I feel like this is just the beginning of their pressure and I try to set up to take out the Sunderer. But no sooner do I use all of my anti-vehicle nades and my decimator than does a max show up. And I immediately begin to wish and wonder if I have the munitions suit on and have to actually check, even though I just used 3 nades 10 seconds ago. I get taken out while rotating though, so it doesn't really matter, and I run out of spawn and try to get position before we lose everything up here. If I can get a good spot on the stairs or on one of these angles, I can actually get a decent bit of farming done, even if we're going to be completely overrun. But nobody's coming up the stairs, and shit's hitting the fan on my floor. As I go to push this guy, I see there's actually another person with him, and I'm getting shot from behind. Thankfully, it's a medic going for the res, so I'm able to focus on my first target, and then go for the medic. But I make sure to push close and use the pillar to cut off the guy behind me. As I turn around to see if the res went off, I actually catch somebody else pushing up on me and I get the kill there. But I've lost momentum, and if this guy pushes the corner aggressively, he's going to have Peeker's advantage on me and I really won't have a chance to do anything about it. So I rotate out as fast as I can and I go for the commissioner turn because I don't actually think I'll make it to the corner. Thankfully, none of that matters because I get outskilled by a vehicle player. Off the res, I'm reconsidering how big of a pop difference this actually is, considering how much pressure showed up all of a sudden, and I see somebody walking past the spawner room. I take the free kill that's been given to me, and I see a max is up here. I try to throw some nades to get some space and see if I can't maybe get one to stick to him for a free kill, and I see a few other people that are fucking around trying to find out. I lose my patience, so I make sure to offer up a sacrifice to the Commissioner God, and then after a little more frustration, I decide just to rotate out to the side and see how many kills I can trade out. I catch somebody not paying attention and then immediately push aggressive leave because I don't want to give away my initiative. As I'm recovering, I see somebody peeking up from the other side, and I dip back into the spawner room to make sure he shoots the other guy before coming out with the Commissioner push to put him down immediately. We get hit from behind, but because I have 4 bullets left, I'm confident to turn on him, and we're able to get that kill too. I rotated out the other side and managed to put 1 decimator into a max, but as I'm chasing it down, I get jumped on by a handful of blue, and then get killed by a tank player. It was only a 90-10, so I decide maybe it's time to go somewhere else. But my brain is on cooldown for the next 2 minutes because I used it for that last play, so I just walk in and eat a few free deaths as I try to find another fight to get to. I mean, look, I even get distracted by some fancy air things going on. Brain equal mush. But after catching another death, my brain comes off cooldown, and as I run back to the fight, I manage to get a good angle and take a pretty extended fight. There's not a whole lot to talk about here besides just taking tight angles and trying to limit the amount of people you're fighting at once. And burst fire. And shield gens are pretty good. So this still goes on for a minute, but I actually do a bad here, followed by a smart. So I take a fight, and I don't kill the guy, but then I get greedy and overextend, looking for another fight. Obviously the first guy comes back getting pissy with me, but I'm able to immediately disengage, where I feel like normally I would actually take the extended fight, and then I take a very tight angle and trade out the guy that I should have killed first. Obviously a mistake that I had to cover for, and not a perfect play by any means, but considering the amount of times I would generally get mad at myself for not out DPSing both of those guys at once, I think it's good to give myself a pat on the back for once. But after dealing with the large wave of people pushing out, we eventually thinned them out enough to where we're able to go push inside. What actually happened is the inside collapsed, but we're going to pretend we actually had something to do with it. The important part is recognizing that there's an opportunity to move up and take a more aggressive position. Up until this point, I've been doing a really good job at taking tight angles and limiting my fights, but I get a little excited here. After killing the reses and seeing mostly red on my side of the building, I think I can actually push up and try to scare the other half, but that is both greedy and absolutely unnecessary, and I immediately die from my bad decisions. After some deep contemplation though, I take a res and try to play it out, and I actually manage to shuffle out the door. Only to demonstrate that I've learned absolutely nothing when I swing way too far out to kill someone who I know is going to be close on the corner, and I die because I exposed myself to the entire universe. But unfortunately, the fight is over by the time I respawn, so we just take a few sad desperation spawns here because there is literally nothing else in the map, before finally there's nowhere else to spawn, and I am forced to go somewhere else. I find what looks like it might be a decent fight at the tech plant and under pop defense, but they're already pushed up and trying to camp the spawn room when I get there, so I just get shot in the back and then have to fight a bunch of spawn lickers. Off of spawn, I pick up 2 such people as I'm pushed towards the building, and then I realize the situation is a lot worse than I thought, as air to ground comes in and there's people on top of the roof of the building we're trying to push. Basically, there's nowhere safe, and I'm gonna get shot from any direction at any time. Technically speaking, the safest place is probably inside this building, so long as I can find an avenue to push in and get some cover somewhere. But as I'm walking in, I just get one tap by a bolt action, and then I'm back to clearing window lickers off the shields. But when I leave the spawn this time, I see a few blue at the bottom of the staircase, and as they get cleaned up, a push slowly materializes and we actually get a foothold this time. Did I say that they pushed? I meant we were all terrified of getting air to grounded. But regardless, we got a footing, and someone even puts up an assault umbrella in the right position. As I try to cut the angle tight, I see someone in the corner, and as I go to peek him, somebody pushes up close. Thankfully, he runs out of bullets, and I'm able to clean him up. While I reload, I actually turn around and check our flank because I was fighting a few people on that door, and it looks like there's a few more now. But they never re-peek, so we're just gonna jump to inside. I get shot as I'm going inside, so I don't really have the luxury of hanging out around the entrance, but from the angle I know he's not going to be chasing me in. I go left to break line of sight, and I actually see a handful of people pushing up the left side, and I'm able to get a few kills before I have to rotate. But before I can get to a safe location and get myself reestablished, I see somebody who does actually catch me before I can get back around the corner, and I get taken out. We seem to have cleared out the area around our spawn room, but I forgot all about the sniper outside, and I just shuffle around like an idiot instead of just walking into the doorway. But on the run back, Blue has advanced farther out of the tech plant towards our spawn, and it looks like we're going to have another fight here. So, immediately upon rezzing, I run to the balcony and try to catch anybody that might be pushing in to thin them out a little bit. It's not as serious of a push as I thought, but there are some people here, and there's a lot more pressure at these doors than there was before, but I don't figure that out until I jump down and get caught out of position. So it makes perfect sense when I walk back and see that we are stuck on a completely different fight, a lot closer to our spawn than before. There's a handful of people in the other building, but they're not peeking, so I'm not really getting a fight, and I get really bored, really antsy, and I'd make a bad decision and stand too close to this corner and just give somebody a free kill. But not having used my brain for so long has turned me onto autopilot, so as soon as I get up, I immediately try to take aim duels without actually getting all of my shield back or my energy from my heavy shield. And then, when I finally remember that I need to stop peeking before I die, I see somebody pushing across the bridge, and while I am able to get my commissioner up in time, I panic and miss the second shot and wind up dying before my third one registers. I totally didn't tilt myself, I just push up and die again before the fight completely dies and I am forced to go somewhere else. As I'm heading into Quartz Ridge though, I actually look at the map and see purple rotating around trying to get the flank, and I'm able to get around there and be ready for them. They might not have been ready for me to be there though. As I get that pick off, I see another one outside on the minimap and I go for that kill. And then, as I rotate back inside, I go upstairs, but I actually see there's a lot of pressure up there and I don't think my team's going to hold, so I decide to stay downstairs and I actually just rotate around there trying to get kills. I don't want to live enough to go run away, but I'm definitely not going to be able to do anything if I push up there. So I fight on cover and work the angles until I get taken out by taking a bad fight without health or shields. I expected them to be pushing, but when I shoulder peek and see a max, I'm a little startled and decide just to rotate back and take a farther angle from the door, expecting them to continue their aggression rather than holding. But, as the max on our team goes to push in, I actually see him walking to the right and think he's going to go either inside the door to the right or outside the door to the right, so I shoot to his left, only for him to just path back to the left and eat my shot. As he runs away though, I see a few people run in and I think we might actually be getting a footing, and I go to push in myself, only to see another max there. As I rotate off that corner because there's nothing that I can do, I see the max that I accidentally griefed there and nobody's actually repairing him. So there's nothing that I can do better than make up for the fact that I griefed him and repair him. Unfortunately, the enemy max kind of peeks into us and there's no hope for this fight. But that was enough to clear my conscience, so when I'm able to respawn, I just follow the push in and try to take ground back. I'm able to get a few kills through the window, and I'm even able to turn my brain on just enough to mark this infiltrator and not try to keep shooting at him and let him be somebody else's problem, and then I just follow the push inside. There's practically no resistance in the point room and only light pressure trickling down, so shortly thereafter we're pushing up the stairs towards point B and C. I momentarily forget I'm on red and almost turn Decimator a friendly mosquito because he's doing some air-to-ground treachery, and then I get caught in a kinda weird fight on the staircase. I drop on a guy and get a free kill, and I go to kill his umbrella, and somebody just materializes behind me. Where the fuck did he come from? But all that missing pressure does rematerialize as I get killed going up the stairs and then find that point under pressure again. I die for free to a sniper because I looked the wrong way, and then on the respawn I actually misposition and die for that. I stand close to the wall, which is correct, and then I get greedy after I get the window fight, and then just step too far away from the wall before looking away again, and I just asked for a bad time. I needed to commit to the guy inside the room rather than looking out the window, because once I saw the guys out the window, I was too afraid to look away, even though there was a threat in the room. We still have a small foothold outside of the point, and I'm just trying to work the angles for fights until we can find another opportunity to push. I do pretty alright on the individual fights, and I don't exactly die by over-peeking, but I do get naded out, and then take a handful of deaths as I just stand up rather than giving up space. Something's obviously happening somewhere though, because once I do actually finally get up, all that pressure and those maxes seem to just suddenly be gone. We're easily able to retake point A and begin pushing towards point B and C again. I want to say this is a bad fight because I'm in the open and there's no cover, but there's really not much you can do trying to push up these stairs at that point because there's just actually no cover to be had. Thankfully though, there's a handful of other red people around me providing some ambient cover just by being there to absorb bullets and provide pressure. The fight's still somewhat even, but it seems like a lot of purple population has been shifted elsewhere, so as I'm pushing up to point B and C, I'm actually able to get a few pickoffs. I don't make it to point B because I actually get hit from the side and have to take another fight on a railing, so I just shift into point C and help hold there. I continue through point C and pick up the last kill of this video on their stairs for 70 kills in 30 minutes. That's the last kill we're going to have for this video. I tried to continue mixing in some of the reasoning and thought processes as well as pointing out what I did wrong. Please let me know what you guys think, what I can improve on, what you do and don't like, and I'll see you guys next time.